We've all been through craziness. And I mean, as much as I learned from 2020, I'm ready for 2020 to straight go to hell and bring on 2021. If we continuously use the prism of red or blue to justify our actions, our inactions, our natural bias, or our own opinions, instead of using the premise of right or wrong, we are all screwed. Well, welcome to the Hour Never podcast, all things entrepreneurship, business. People just take life and kick it in the ass. Our special guest, Mark Eldridge, and obviously my beautiful co-host, Brittany Rexius.
Hey.
She said that's the tagline. She always says it like that.
You didn't introduce me in the last one, so I didn't get my hey, so I had to do it twice now.
She says I get more views when she's on,
yeah,
because she's better than I am. Well, it is true. Actually, my ratings went down when she wasn't on. So
I can see why.
Oh, I can see why. I mean, I can see like I people look like how did this happen? I'm like, right. I'm really funny.
It's very perplexing.
And yeah, it is. Yeah. And I outkick my coverage. I outkick my coverage a long way. So we met a couple weeks ago, yeah. And he's been Mark here's been helping to get some financing for some of our new franchise locations, and got the opportunity to have a couple of coffee drinks over. I love my caffeine. So yeah. Over here at Scooters, it's kind of my meet-to spot, and you just have a really interesting story, and I thought it'd be awesome to have you on the show, and just a lot of advice for our young entrepreneurs and budding business owners. And I think you have just a wealth of knowledge, and just kind of tell us how you got into all this and like what the pathway here.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting story and interesting journey. So I won't go back to the time I was born. We won't go back that far. But I went to University of North Carolina, so I'm a Tar Heel. Very proud of that, and not good basketball this go round, but got a business and accounting degree from North Carolina, and from there spent the first 10 years in public accounting as a CPA. That was a great journey. Came out of school, went to work at Ernst & Young, the big accounting firm. Mm-hmm. And then also part of that 10 years had my own practice. And, I was in my 20s and had a nice practice, great partner, brought a great quality partner on, and things were going great. I just didn't have the 40-year passion to do that work. I had that entrepreneurial type drive. So after about that first 10 years is when I started getting into some other just business ownership. I've owned several franchises through the years, an entertainment franchise. Then I got into part of the journey was being a business broker. Went to Austin, Texas to open up a business brokerage firm down there. And then for the last, I'd say about 20 years, I've basically been in the personal development and the financial industries.
Yeah.
So that's the high level answers.
Nice.
So hopefully not too much detail.
Well, I like the fact you even said that. Like when you have that entrepreneurial spirit in you, it's you know.
Right.
I've always said to people, I'm not sure if I go into business for myself or not. I go, well, are you worried about the financial part or your ability to push yourself? Because there's a difference.
Right.
Everybody's worried about the financial part. I mean, one way or another.
Right.
I said, but if you don't think you can hold yourself accountable and be, I always call them patient enough to know it's a long journey, but impatient enough to never be satisfied with your results. I go, you're an entrepreneur.
Right.
And I go, there's nothing wrong with that. And it used to be, I think you can agree with this, like 20 years ago, even 30 years ago, entrepreneur was almost a dirty word. It was like, he says he's an entrepreneur. That means unemployed. And that was what that's what my old college professors used to say. It wasn't. Yeah. And now it's become trendy.
Yeah.
Most of them aren't real entrepreneurs, but that's fine. Right. And I think like with franchising, it's fantastic because you take somebody else who took a maybe larger risk setting the company up. Right. Now you have some success, you have some track record, you have a system in place, but you're still on your own. And we always tell our franchisees they're business partners. Mm-hmm. We're not, you're my customer. So that's how I look at it.
Sure. And
make sure that you're successful. Well, and that's just how we've always operated. But I love the fact watching where I was at 23, 24, trying to start a business. And I went through business college and I still had no clue whatsoever, which is the whole college thing, which you've all heard my rant on college. I'll leave that where it is. Yeah. But, I had no clue what to do. So I had to go work for, over half a decade to get enough money to finally decide to be broke again and start a franchise. But, the coaching aspect I thought was really interesting. And you really kind of come and just tell people how to be successful as business owners.
Well, that's the key word. Is being a business owner, and the reality is if you look at all the business owners, quote unquote, out there and how they operate, the vast majority of them are not operating as business owners. They're basically operating. We call them glorified employees. Mm-hmm. Not to be disrespectful, but just to call it like it is. So if you look at, what is the day in the life of this business owner in their business, what are they doing?
Yeah.
Most of that activity would fall under the employee activity. And so the problem is that how do they learn how to become a business owner? And we refer to it as a strategic business owner, creating an asset in that business that will serve them eventually, versus them serving the asset for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
And then you have the whole issue of building business value, and to the extent that they can continue to move outside of the center of the circle, of that business and more own the business, less in, their value will go up exponentially.
Yeah.
So the problem is you can't, there's no school that teaches this. So I got a business and accounting degree from North Carolina. Well, 100% of every class course we had was all about big business. It's Fortune 100 companies.
Yeah.
And that's not small business. And this will sound maybe a little bit crazy, but I've been saying this for 30 years. When you look at how a big business, a Fortune 100 company, how does that operate? And you compare that to the typical small to medium-sized business, that's like comparing football rules to baseball rules.
Yeah.
They're that different.
Yeah.
And so you simply cannot apply, it'd be crazy to play a football game with baseball rules. That doesn't make any sense. But, big business, spreadsheets and analyzing this and figuring out how you're going to advertise on the Super Bowl, that's not small business. Small business is about getting your butt out of your office and networking, building relationships, and learning the fundamentals. How to create business systems, become that develop a business owner mindset versus an employee, and having marketing systems in place. And again, the relationships and business planning and learning how to manage people, not Fortune 100 managing 10,000 employees or 1,000. Manage your staff, and they can't learn it. So our coaching program over these years was centered around that issue right there. Is how do you become a strategic business owner? So it's a combination of coaching, which is pulling the potential out of someone that's already inside of them, and then training, which is teaching them. It's just teaching them, what does it mean to be an effective leader? Yeah. Whether you're by yourself or you have 100 employees, these fundamentals are what you need to learn, for an example.
That makes sense. I mean, and I think that, she's done a lot of accounting, and she's way bigger companies, and we'll talk about stuff. And so she's got the small business backbone. So she did her folks had small businesses and could do that and to do these major corporations. And we sat back and we could never be successful the way we are with our smaller businesses, the way these Fortune 200s and Fortune 100 run their companies. And I'm like, how? I don't get it. And I hate talking about COVID, but it's the season we're in as far as business is concerned. Right. Let me get your take on this. My personal opinion was that a lot of the smaller businesses that built their backbone on relationships in the communities. Now you're all up to, whatever locality you live in and whatever regulations are in place. But if you were allowed to be open, you may have not even just survived, you may have thrived. Yeah. And I think the bigger businesses, it showed some, I'm going to say the right word, but it enlightened some of the mismanagement that's done on a massive corporate level. And I go, where do you see it like this last year? Because I know some bigger chains have gone belly up, and some smaller businesses came out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. And have you seen that be a little bit more true, that the relationship portions of smaller businesses have succeeded when, Oh, absolutely. And I would say the bigger issue is the mindset. Yeah. This has been tough. Again, we've got these 6 sort of pillars and fundamentals for maximizing individual and business potential. Well, one of those is mental programming. And that's all based in science. So when we go through this and teach people this, if they think it sounds crazy, then we're like, okay, I'm the messenger. Don't get on me. This is proven scientifically. Okay, and we've got all of that. But I think what COVID has done has really put that to the test, because this has been a long period of time, and we're still not out of it. Yeah. So I think that if I was to guess, I would say it's probably split. And if you go back to February of last year, pre-COVID, and you look at how
business owners and really just people in general have dealt with this, I think you'd find it pretty close to 50-50.
Yeah.
And 50%, I think, went into their shell and, when they're miserable and they're down and you almost gave up and paralyzed. And I think a lot of business owners did.
I agree with that.
But then you have the other side that they've got this mindset and these beliefs that they have formed because of the way they program themselves, that they've dealt with. This is a bump in the road. It's multiple bumps. It's a hurdle. It's a challenge. Yeah. And instead of drowning in their sorrows and sort of giving up, so to speak, or taking time off, it's like, no, we're going to navigate around this. Yeah. And so they've continued to work and do the business with the cards they've been dealt. Yeah. And then a lot of innovations come out of that. And there's a lot of businesses that have increased during this period of time.
And I think the successful business owners, a successful small business owner, they're a fighter.
Yep.
Absolutely. It's just it's a change of pace. Like I can't control what's going on around me. That's I can't control. I can only control my attitude and my approach to it. And that's what I've said before. Like when COVID first happened, and then Chad and I were doing podcasts, and they're like, "What's your?" I go, "I'm not scared because it's not my fault." Mm-hmm. When you're a kid, and your brother breaks out the window at the house with the baseball, you're almost kind of like, oh shit, mom's gonna kill you, and I kind of want to watch it. It's like a train wreck because I know I didn't do it, and that's kind of how I felt the whole time. But there was obviously some fears because we spent our life building this, and I said we're going to roll with the punches. But we spent our last 11 years building relationships.
Absolutely.
And I think that I told her, I'm like, there's going to be we're going to have some online stuff. Amazon's going to get this or that. It's just going to happen. Some people's, I said, but we spent a lot of time developing into people, our customers, our clients, and I said they're going to come back. I said, we're just going to make a plea for it and just show the service is worth it. And we grew, and we really have grown. And I think that's why I'm seeing such an uptick in franchising. And you probably speak on that better than I can because you see several industries. But, we've seen an uptick over the last 6 months more than I have probably in the last 3 or 4 years. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people I had some people who were working from home with when they were a corporate job and they all got let go. Mm-hmm. They were expendable.
They were a number on the page.
They were a number on the page. And we've been coaching a lot of them, talking to a lot of them. I'm like, I go, take your destiny in your own hands. I said, I know some of these folks, and they were making good money enough to keep them being an employee. Yeah. But if you know them and you know their mentality, I'm like, you need to own your own. Put your destiny in your own hands. Relationships are never going to get outdated, ever. Building relationships, and I think that people.
It's the name of the game.
It is, and I think people can get lazy with technology. Mm-hmm. Well, I have a really killer web platform. I've got this. In my industry alone, bodybuilding.com back in the early 2000s was the website for supplements. Amazon wasn't even existent in this field yet, and they could not be taken down. Well, they got taken down. Mm-hmm. They had the best platform. They had a better platform than Amazon did for supplements. They had the information, but the thing is, there was no relationship there. Yeah, there was no. It's just a website, and then people get lazy with the relationship aspect because they think technology is going to do the work. And I said, the fun part is the relationships. To me, that's it. I want to know, all of a sudden, I've got guys shopping with me 11 years ago that maybe had a 10-year-old kid at the time, and now their kid's 20, 21, and they're buying supplements. Mm-hmm. And now that guy's 40 and he's buying supplements. Right. And so now grandpa sees his son and his grandson buying supplements, and he's 65. Now he's buying supplements. So it's actually just the time I developed with one person has led to a multi-generational sales approach. Right. Because of a relationship, and all of a sudden, how many weddings we get invited to from just customers? I'm like, we got to go. Got to go. And absolutely. I go, and plus I like wedding cake. So it's a bonus, Well,
I was going to say, you're absolutely right on the relationships. And here would be my estimate, because I've asked, over 1,000 people this question. That I've personally worked with on the coaching side, business owners and professionals, mostly franchise owners. The question is, what's the most important marketing strategy? And I would say about a third at most would say relationships, about building relationships. But here's the thing. What does that mean? Okay, so the third that got, you're right, that is, I don't care what your business says. That's the most important part that's going to make your business tick is building and nurturing and maintaining these relationships. But how do you do it? What's your strategy? Almost nobody has a strategy. So that's the thing. And they go to the networking events, and that's all positive. It's all good. But what we basically teach and coach on this is really developing the personal relationship. Even though it's a business relationship, get to know the person. And I know from just knowing both of you in a short period of time, you've nailed that. Yeah. You obviously have a lot of deep personal relationships, friendships, and things like that. And that's the key.
Yeah.
But having a way to do that, having an appreciation marketing strategy would be a specific approach that can be used. Has to be real. You can't fake it. You can't act like you appreciate it. You have to really be an appreciative person and like other people. But implementing strategies like that is a very specific way to dive into this and actually develop the relationships.
Yeah.
Instead of just saying, "Oh, it's about relationships." What does that mean? What's your strategy? Most people, there's no specific strategy. It's just kind of hanging out and
that's it. We have to do it with our staff because they're an extension of me in our corporate locations,
Right.
and I they've got to see me do it firsthand. I'll sit there for an hour with a guy, even if he didn't buy anything. Because I go, well, maybe he doesn't need anything today. Well, you just wasted an hour. I go, I didn't waste an hour. I invested an hour.
Right.
Listen, if you look at an investment instead of just a loss of time, it's a different attitude. And I said, but someday he might. Someday he might not. But, so even our mail guy, we have the most baller mail guy ever.
Amazing.
He comes to this office, comes to my house.
Mail guy?
The mail guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we've given him some samples. I don't think he's ever bought anything from us. I've given him free energy drinks. I see him driving by the house because I got a stack in my garage. Yeah. Just nice guy. It's just about relationships, right? So we had some hail damage to our house. Insurance company gave us enough money for what would be one window. And it's just, I'm like, and he rolled, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm trying to figure out how to get new windows in my house. I just didn't get enough insurance money. We got bids for $34,000, $30,000. The insurance company gave me $7,000. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do windows. Like, I'm good at some stuff. That's just not one of them.
He's like, call this company and tell them that the mailman sent you.
Yeah, he goes, go to this company, tell them the mail guy sent you. I go, can I just tell him your name? He goes, no, just tell him the mail guy. I go, why is that? He goes, well, I own 2 rental properties. I made an assessment. It's the mail guy, right? Now he owns 2 rental properties in Bellevue. He's been a mail guy for 30 years. Yeah. Super nice. Just go tell him the mail guy sent you. I go, okay. So I walk into America's Best Choice Windows. I'm like, hey, the mail guy sent me? I love that dude. They replaced all of our windows for $7,000.
Wow.
And he goes, if he recommends you, we're going to get your friends a family discount, the whole thing. Just relationships. And we had the same thing. I told him, it's not just with customers. It's with everybody. Mm-hmm. And I always told my staff, I said to go, in my franchisees, get to know your landlord. He's a family guy. Get to know your property manager. Get to know everybody. Like, this is what you do. This is your lifeblood. I go, because if you're nice and you give to other people, there may be some point in time where they can give back, and it's huge. I told my staff when I first started, I emptied my entire bank account, and I lined the walls of 120th and Center of product. Mm-hmm. I said, my view was this. I can't feed my kids or put a roof over my head or pay the rent or the light bill if people don't come in here. Mm-hmm. And not only if they don't come in here, but they come here once, I need them to come back a second and a third time.
Right.
So, and I am so ridiculously grateful and have gratitude towards these people that allow me to feed my babies. Like, for me, it is true gratitude. Mm-hmm. Right. Whatever they buy. And if they want to buy 1 bar every day and I make like a quarter, I'm thankful for the quarter. And I told them, and that's the attitude I need you guys to have. Right. I understand, like, this is me and that you're an extension of me. And so, like, even the landlords, I've never had to call for a fixed maintenance thing issue. If I ever did, it was very nice, cordial. Like, hey, man, we got a problem with this, that, or the other thing. And I just re-signed my lease in Bellevue. I can say this. And like 3 months ago. And this is the only lease where I don't have a cap on my HVAC system. Most of the systems for you guys out there when you're in real estate, you have a certain, because the building, it's not like renting a house. If something breaks in your building, if it's not in the lease, it's on you. Right. These rooftop units for these HVAC systems can be up to $10,000. Yeah. Well, what happened? The month after I signed my lease on this lease, the rooftop unit went out. It was a $4,100 leak test, and I'm like, oh my God, I just signed this, and I don't pay for that. So I called the guy from Control and the people who do my maintenance. I'm like, listen, I've been paying you for 10 properties for over a decade. I said, hook me up. Like, let me know. What's the new system cost? And I go, don't give me that spiel retail value garbage either. He goes, he starts laughing. All right, man, I got you. So it comes back, it's like $6,900. Mm-hmm. I'm like, okay, well, I'll just get a new system. I'm going to be here forever. I go, can you get that in writing for me? He's like, why? I go, a landlord likes me as much as you do. So hang on a second. So I kick it over to the landlord. I'm like, hey, 5 years, I've never asked you guys to fix a thing. I've always paid my rent on time. You guys are super nice. And we get along, and we'll give them gift cards when they come in the shop once a year. They give us Christmas presents. It's just nice. Yeah. I said, I never asked for anything. This is a lot of money for a small business. Can you guys help me out? And landlord comes back. He goes, I'll take half of that. Mm-hmm. Cool. That's huge. That's over $3,000. Right. Yeah. Had the relationship not developed, had I not invested time over the last 5 years, even though I asked for nothing in return, the one time I do need to ask, they didn't even hesitate. They immediately go, yeah, we got you. Yeah. That's huge. Now there are some people come in, they yell at the landlord, they yell at this. It's all about them. It's all about what can you do for other people, and eventually, if you need help, they'll help you. And it's relationships all around. It's landlords, it's bankers, it's finance people, it's customers, it's employees.
Yeah.
That way, if I ever had to let somebody go, and I told her this, and I hate firing people, is the worst part of my job. I'm probably doing it. I just don't like doing it.
Yeah.
And and I've told my managers the same thing. If we ever have to let somebody go, we're going to do it with kindness. I go, there's no reason, because they can still be a customer someday.
Right.
And maybe they're going through a season in their life where they haven't quite figured it out yet, because we have a lot of younger employees. I said, being mean and doing the authoritarian crap doesn't do anything. And I'm worried about that relationship, because in 10 years, that kid may come back here and say, you guys changed me.
Absolutely.
I had to, at one point in time, I had little brothers working for me. It was time to leave. And my mom was pissed. And looking at my brother, like my one brother now, he's phenomenally successful. I'm incredibly proud of the guy. I mean, and maybe that was one of the things that said, I'm going to go do something else. I'm going to go be a captain of my own ship. And I just think that's just putting time into people is huge.
It's invaluable.
Yeah.
And you said it when you were talking. We talked about this in our coffee meeting. It's about giving.
Yeah.
And don't have an agenda, just give. And you take that, when you're in a sales call, for instance. There's sales processes and that type of thing. But the best thing to do is just get to know the person genuinely.
Yeah.
And if you can't get the sale, then help them anyway. That will come back, and you cannot possibly put a value on creating a reputation like that you really care about people. That's the greatest compliment you ever get. They're going to go out there and they're going to tell their friends about it.
Oh yeah.
And they're going to run into people that need your service. And remember how you've treated them. It happened
last week.
Happens all the time.
It happened last week. Some guy came in the shop. I still work in the shop a day a week, and guy came in and was looking for some randomly weird vitamin that I knew I didn't carry. It's just we can't serve everybody's everything. And he goes, man. I go, what happened? He goes, I read it in a magazine article. I'm like, let me see it. I go, listen, I want you to drive up to No Name Nutrition, about 20 blocks up, go to the left. They're behind the old Shopco. Yeah. So tell Tim Rexius sent you. I guarantee they'll have it. I said, I can call them if you want me to right now. Make sure you don't waste the trip. He goes, no. You just tell me to go to your competitor. I go, they're locally owned. They're cool. Tell them they owe me a Christmas present. I probably kicked them. I couldn't tell you how many tens of thousands of dollars in business in the last year, but I just want to make sure the customer gets what they need. Yeah. I would like to make my dollar on it, sure, but if I don't have it that day, I don't want you to. I want to keep it local. I don't want it to go to Amazon.
See, and I'm going to piggyback off that, because I was just thinking, like, this whole time I'm going, with the pandemic and everything, not to talk about that, but I think this is kind of an opportunity maybe, or a silver lining for small businesses to understand that Amazon can't offer relationships.
Right.
They can't, if you're unhappy with a product or something like that, all you can really do is write a bad review. You don't get anything back. You can send it back to them and you get your money back, but you don't get the problem fixed. You have a relationship with someone, you can get set somewhere, right, with a recommendation from a business owner that's willing to small business. I go, I do a lot of camera work and stuff. And the other day I was like, I was weighing the price. I was like, I really need this memory card. It was some just random. And I was like, what local business can I go and get that? So I looked at everything I could. I started with Nebraska Furniture Mart, even though it's a bigger corporate business, that's the only one I could think of. Then I was looking at Best Buy. They still have local employees. Then I was looking at Rockbrook. So I was like, okay, boom, Rockbrook had it. So I went out there. Yeah, I paid $10, $15 more than I would if I got it online, but I got it today. And I learned something there that I wouldn't have learned if I bought it online, because they showed me something else. I was like, if you actually do this, actually these cards work. I was going there to buy a more expensive thing, and they saved me money by getting the other thing, because it does the same thing. Yeah. It's just a different brand. Yeah. So you don't get that on Amazon, and you don't get that online, and it's great to have that.
That's the sign I have on the front door, and I made it on Office Depot on their little platform, because they're right down the strip from me, and I know the manager there, and I made a sign. I I got mad. So and I had a customer who was asking me about advice about a supplement they had bought on Amazon because nobody on Amazon could answer their question. I'm like, well, why don't you just come to my store? And I got perturbed. So I put a big sign. It's 24 by 36 inches. I am putting it in all my stores. And I'm getting shared like 2,000 times on Facebook and Instagram. And all these business owners are like, can I get a copy of that? I go, I don't have a copy. I just made it online at Office Depot. And anyways, I said, this is a small locally owned business. Yeah. We know we can get it to you just as fast as Amazon. We were probably cheaper.
Right.
We'll have better customer service. We are in your neighbors. We put our taxes in the city. Our kids go to school with your kids. We go to the same church. We see you in the grocery store. Right. Support local now, or there won't be local left. I mean, and I've had more people stop in, never been to my store. They go, love your sign. I'm like, love the fact that you're here, and that's just it. And it is huge. And I know Chad and I've talked about that. We'll go on Marketplace. We'll try to find things local. As much as
I think a lot of people want to get away from the technology anyway. They've been stuck at home this whole year. I think they're ready to talk to a human being that wants, to help them and get them what they need.
I think that's the thing. I think we're going to thrive going through 2021. I said the same thing, and we all survived 2020. Let's thrive in 2021. And I think that's the real key. And I think a lot of people are, I said, especially now, today's the ultimate, even you agree to this. I mean, technology has its advantages. Today is the ultimate age of the side hustle. This gives us 24-hour access to customers, and it gives you can test things out. Before, when we first became entrepreneurs, I had to make a big leap. You'd be like, okay, I got to give up the salary and go do this. And I'm like, when you have kids, it's really hard. And now you can kind of test the waters with a lot of different side hustles with your phone and technology. It gives you opportunity.
Well, this topic we're talking about, there's huge opportunity, the relationships, the human connection because of the technology, because most of the businesses people operating, they're operating through the technology. They're using their phones, they're using their computer. Everything's a technology. Even simple things like the birthday. Okay, I like getting happy birthday on Facebook, and I send them myself.
Yeah,
but that's not the same as a telephone call.
Yeah,
or an old-fashioned card in the mail.
Yeah,
there's huge opportunity for this exact topic to get way ahead of the competition because again, they're not doing it. Everybody's busy. Everybody's hustling. No one has enough time, so it's just everything's how fast can I do it, and the whole human connection is what's being left out of the equation.
Yeah.
And this is not going anywhere. Us sitting here like this, face to face, there's not going to be any technology that's ever going to replace that. I don't care how real we look on that TV screen.
Not even Zoom. Not even Zoom. Like we tried doing the podcast, and we did what we had to do to keep the thing going. We wanted to get views. We had Aldo down in Florida. We had Steve and Amanda down in Texas. We had John Meadows coming from Ohio, and I've had John Meadows in person, and I've had him on Zoom. And I'm like, not the same. You can't play off that emotion, and it's just and I get it. It was great that technology allowed us to still do that amidst the things that were going on, but it wasn't the same energy.
Right.
And I told Chad, I go, I am over having Zooms. I mean, we did have a doctor's appointment yesterday for our oldest son via Zoom. They would come in, and I'm like, and she did good. She was very nice. It's not the same.
It's not the same. I mean, that's the point.
I mean, how good can the diagnosis be if you can't put your hands on somebody?
Exactly.
And it's just the same thing with business. We're handshake people.
Yes.
Right. This fist bump thing, or just people doing elbows, and I'm like, I get it, but we were grown. We were both raised to look them in the eye, shake a hand.
I know.
And for me, it's so hard. And I never want to make anybody feel uncomfortable. It's just such a habit. And they're like, and you look at them, I go, oh, I'm good. Like I don't make anybody feel bad, but I'm such a handshake person.
Same.
And it was so hard after 11 years in business to walk around fist bumping customers or just waving. And it is. I mean, it is what it is. But for me, I love human interaction. I love people, and I love to speak. And I want to get back to speaking engagements and doing the things that we were all planning on doing. And
how many times has the technology failed us?
Exactly.
How much time do we waste trying to get our connection? Hey, you got to turn your audio on.
No, we spent an hour this morning getting the Wi-Fi to go. So I mean, it is what it is.
Well, again, it has its place for efficiencies and productivity, and no question about that.
Absolutely.
But it's overtaking this topic we're talking about.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the day, again, it's all about building relationships. Everything we've been discussing. Yeah. And you cannot replace face-to-face interaction with a text.
Oh, yeah.
It's not the same.
It's not. And it's the same
Not
thing.
that the text is bad.
No.
It's just not the same.
It's not.
Right.
It's communication tools. But like you and I have met there several times.
Yeah.
And so when I'm talking to prospective franchisees right now, and they're like, well, and we're talking about Kansas City with the gal, Kashonda, and we're talking to a few other people. They're like, what about financing? I go, don't worry. The best friend. I got a guy. And they're like, you got
We
a
like
guy
that. We like the way that sounds.
You know, and it is. I got a guy. And you have that, and then they feel at ease because it's somebody that I'm recommending that I know.
Right.
And that's the same thing with Nick Parker. Same thing like, hey, I got a guy. Don't worry about it.
Right.
And that's all because of relationships. Had I not met you,
100%.
that would never happen. And that's especially in person. We'd had a phone call, maybe. Yeah. Zoom meeting. I'd probably been more annoyed than I would have been happy because I hate them. But in fact, we went and had a cup of coffee. We shook hands, got to have a little rapport. And I'm like, hey, don't worry, I got a guy. Now she's at ease. You know, the franchisee's at ease. Yeah. And I'm totally feel better about somebody I've met. And that's just never going to go away. I think.
And I think sometimes through a text message or like through a Facebook post or something like that, things can get misunderstood. There's no tone.
Yep.
Yes.
You know, you can't. Right. So I've
done that.
I fell either victim to it or I've also assumed that somebody was being curt or there was a tone that wasn't there. I was like, it happens almost on a daily basis, and we've kind of gotten too used to it. But then what happens with the youth? Do they are stunted? You know, are they when they grow up, are they socially stunted in some way, shape, or form? Yeah. Just a small way. And so we're talking about the relationships. I mean, I hope, and knock on wood, you know, I know your kids are going to be fine because you guys are good parents. But some parents either aren't aware, or they're young parents, millennials that don't that had the same upbringing they did.
Yeah, it's a problem. Yep.
Well, I think that's where we talked about this in our last podcast episode that, you know, it's all about we're a village, we're a community. And so how many kids hang out at our house, and we never, I don't step on our parents' toes by any means, but I'm like, hey, and the boys, like Tyler's friends, like, and they'll shake my, I go, no, give me a handshake. I'm going to show you how to do this. Look me in the eye. Yeah. And then I go, I'm Mr. Rexius, so I'm not going to bite. We're good. The girls, the same thing. And
I teach them how to shake
a hand. And it's all those things. It's just part of being in the community. And we have many employees that come to work for me in their 20s that have come in when they had an event and they call us like, I don't know how to tie a tie. I'm like, I got you. Like, no worries, like no judgment, whatever. It just happens, and it's amazing that. But that's all because like we love people. Like you can't do that through Zoom. Right. You can't do that through text. And the same with text chat's right with that. Like my business partner Nick and I we can't text each other unless it's 100% positive. If there's any issue. I'm coming over to the gym. Let's talk because we've almost gotten into fist fights because I'm reading his dry smartassness through a text message, and he's automatically thinking I'm condescending, and it's just you just lose that. And phone calls, I get it. Like phone calls are hard, like, especially like when you're like me. Like I try to multitask. I'm doing like 9 things at once. I almost put a walking treadmill underneath my desk in there so I can do cardio while working on my computer. And just because I'm trying to do too many things at once, and it's so hard on phone calls. And
sometimes he does this talk to text thing, and I think he's on the phone, and no, he's sending a text message, and I'm like trying to. I
have huge hands, and it's hard to text. Okay, and so I just talk to text, and so everybody thinks I'm dyslexic because it's all over the place. Yeah, but you know, I think I'm excited for conferences again. We talked about the franchising conference. I'm excited to go to these things again, and I look at. I mean, COVID sucked, whatever it is. It made me more gracious. I am so much more grateful for the chance.
There's silver lining.
I always look for the silver lining.
Yeah, same.
I'm ready to go back to football games in person. I am ready to go to conferences. I mean, we had gone to so many conferences before. I was like, oh, here we go again. Now I'm like, let's go to a conference. Yeah. And she's like, it's a chemical conference. I'm like, it'll be exciting. I don't care. We're going. You know, and I'm just excited. And that's for us, like being able to do events again. We're having a powerlifting meet this weekend, and you know, it's just fun. And I'm just so happy to be with people because I'm a relationship guy.
Yeah, it'll make it even that much more sweeter just because this has been so long.
It is.
I mean, just think about that. I mean, if it had been 3 months, everybody thought last year, this will be over, June, July. That still would have been, we're so glad this is over. Now we're over a year, so it's going to be sweet.
We haven't had a store opening now in like 15 months. Right. And so now we've got Hot Springs, Arkansas, Council Bluffs. We're going to have Gretna, possibly San Diego. That's right, boys. Rexius Christian's growing. And I'm so jacked to get plane tickets and go and do the whole meet the new people, do the episodes, and it's just going to be so much fun. Well, How can people contact you? They want to get in touch with you as far as financing or coaching and that kind of stuff. Any way you want people to contact you?
Just any way, email or phone.
Okay, cool.
Text.
All right, cool.
Text is fine. We tell everybody, hey, just whatever's easiest. On the funding side, people are different. Sometimes they've got 4 to 8 weeks. Like in your business, it's usually not like right away, but we got to get it lined up. Others need it yesterday.
Yeah.
So we're real accessible. We respond very, very quickly. So I can give you to give the email address now. Yeah. So best email would be meldridge@focusbf.com. So MELDRIDGE at focus FOCUS BF B as in boy F as in Frank.com. Phone number, office number 402-496-2007. Cell 402-881-8873. Any one of those are fine. Website, we've got multiple sites. The main financing site is focusbusinessfinancing.com.
Fantastic.
Right.
All right, so everybody listen on audio. I will put this in the captions on all the forums, SoundCloud, iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, whatever ones we're on, and it'll also be on the Timothy D. Rexius page on Instagram when we air this episode, and on Timothy D. Rexius Facebook page. And I don't do Twitter because I don't have any more time for any more forums. But I'll put it on LinkedIn too because I love LinkedIn. LinkedIn's my new jam because there's no drama on LinkedIn. That's true. For all you guys who want a social media platform that's a little bit of business and no drama, LinkedIn is where you go. I'm a whole new LinkedIn fan. So I just want to thank you so much for coming on and honestly helping out our franchisees and giving a wealth of knowledge. And anybody else who wants coaching, you're looking at financing, you just want to talk to a guy who's been in the industry a long time, Mark's the guy to talk to. So thank you again, sir. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.